What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make this mechanical piece completely from scratch inside a Blender. I'm going to show you all the modeling tools, the workflows, the design choices, and a little bit of the more technical stuff that you might run into when you make designs like this. So let's hop right into the video. And by the way guys, if you need any sort of help with Blender and hard surface modeling, make sure to book a call with us in the link in the top of the description. We can go over your problems, your struggles, and if we're able to help you. Alright, so we're going to start by scaling this cube a little bit on the y-axis and then a little bit on the x-axis as well until we kind of have this shape. Now I'm just going to press Shift A and I'm going to add in a cylinder, and we're going to set the cylinder to 64 vertices so it's higher resolution obviously. And then we're just going to rotate that 90 degrees over the Y, and I'm going to position this cylinder roughly about here. We can change this later, and then I just want to go to this edge and bevel that. Now I'm not going to apply the scale here because I kind of want it to be a bit skewed in that direction. You can apply the scale if needed, but I think right about here is going to be good. And then I'm just going to go to this cylinder. Now you're going to notice this cylinder is not flush. This face is not flush with this face right here. So if you want to do that, which I do in this case, I'm going to go up here to face, G, X, and then if you hold Control, it's going to snap to the face because we turn on the face snap setting. And then over here, you can just press, if you're using Mesh Machine, you can press Alt X to symmetrize, or just press GX and then hold Control on this side as well. So we're going to kind of have this result right here. So that's exactly what I'm going for. Now I just want to duplicate this, move it over here, scale that down a bit, and then do the same exact thing. So GX, hold Control, GX, and then hold Control right here as well. Maybe a little bit smaller even. And do the same thing. And then what I want to do is I want to union both of these cylinders to the object. So to do that, I can just select both of these and then Control plus on the numpad to run a union, using hard ops for that. And you're going to see we have two union booleans. Now, since these faces are in the same position as this face, we need to set the booleans to exact on both of these. So exact here and exact here, or it is not going to union properly, as you can see. And we're just going to go ahead and apply those booleans, and you're going to have this right here. Now I know this looks blocky, a bit amateur, but we're going to work on it and it should look better as we progress on this. Now, what I would recommend doing, because when you run a union boolean, one of the big problems here is you have a mess in terms of the geometry. Now, if you're not using this tool, go and buy it right now. It is $5. It's the best tool you'll get for Blender. Go to Preferences and go to Machine Tools, and it's like a 5-minute process to buy and download. You can just watch videos on our channel if you don't know how. But anyways, turn on all these settings right here, all right? Turn on all these settings, especially cleanup, because what you can do with Machine Tools, you can clean up all the junk in one single click. So I'm going to press 3. That's going to clean up all the junk, just like redundant geometry and stuff like that that was produced by the Boolean. Then we're going to select everything, X, and then limited dissolve. Now it's going to dissolve out some areas we don't want here because of this angle value. So what I would recommend doing is setting this value to 0.1, which basically means it's just going to dissolve out the junk on the flat surface because there's no angle there, right? So that's kind of my hack. 3 with Machine Tools, and then X, limited dissolve, set to 0.1 degrees. That'll clean up pretty much any issues you'll ever have with a Boolean like that, all right? So now you're going to have this shape. Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is make some bevels, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a bevel here, Control B, we'll just add some segments to that. And then I'm going to go here and dissolve out some of these edges, otherwise I won't be able to bevel this, as you can see. So Control X on all of these, and then we'll just bevel that. Ignore the shading. If you want to fix that, you just go into object mode and shade auto smooth. That'll fix it. And you might need to slightly adjust the angle because of that right there. And we're going to fix the, because if I kind of go into side view, notice there's a little bit of like a pinch point right here. That's because it's not smoothed out. We're going to fix that in a moment. Then I'm just going to go here and dissolve out these as well and just bevel that. And let me make sure. Okay, notice how the scale is a bit skewed here. So what I'm going to actually do is Control A to apply the scale, and now it's going to bevel a bit more consistently. And I'm just going to scroll down, try to match the segment count. It'll look a bit more natural. And then I'm going to go here, do the same thing, and just do something like that. And then same here as well. We'll just add in a bevel to this area. And then I'm just going to add one down here as well, kind of like that. And now we're going to have this basic foundational shape. So what if I were lazy, I'd probably just ignore this, but I think it should be mentioned here that where I beveled this, we're not going to have like a perfectly clean transition. Notice the bevel here, it's a little bit, it's a little bit of a pinch point there, a little bit of a pinch point here. We're just going to round this out so it looks a bit nicer, okay? Now the way we do this is we go to Edit, Preferences, and under Get Extensions, turn on Loop Tools, and just click on Install. And then it should be turned on here in the add-ons panel. This comes with Blender, just turn it on. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna select, control click these vertices, right click, loop tools, and then space. What space does is it evenly distributes the vertices. If you wanna kind of see what this looks like, I'm not sure like how accurate this will be, but I'm gonna check real quick. So I'm gonna go to edge length here. And if I kind of scroll in here, 0.0764, 0.0764, 0.0764, but where I added that bevel, this one's not quite the same length. These two are the same length, this one's shorter. It's not really noticeable, but it is worth doing in my opinion. So watch what happens if I go in here and I right click Loop Tools and then space. Everything is gonna be spaced out evenly. Like this one's like almost 0.076, right? It's like a 0.001 decimal difference. I mean, who cares? And if that bothers you, you could relax it. But space is going to give you even, consistent distance around those vertices, and you're going to remove those weird pinch points. So I'm going to go here, do the same thing. I can actually turn this off now unless you want to see the length. Go here to space. And you're going to see we haven't done it to this side. So I would just recommend running a symmetry to the other side. You can do that with Mesh Machine, or you can do that directly here inside of Blender. You just go to symmetry and we'll do positive X to negative X. And then you would just dissolve that out. But basically same exact thing. So again, just make sure you use the space command and everything is going to be spaced out perfectly. All right, so far so good. Now you're gonna see it's kind of nice and round, which is exactly what we wanted because we want this to be nice and consistent. So the next thing I wanna do here is I wanna press Shift A and I wanna go to Mesh, Cylinder, and again, 64 vertices is fine. I'm gonna right click to Shade Auto Smooth, RY90 to rotate that 90 degrees. And then I'm just gonna scale that down and then position this over here and scale this down again. Kind of like that, and that should be good. Then we can go ahead and do the same thing over here in this area. All right, just gonna go in. You can just kind of get that centered as much as you can. If you do want this to be perfectly centered, what you could actually do is a little hack, nice little command hack. Take this top vertex, shift click the one right below it, Shift S, cursor to selected. Is that the one below it? It's kind of close enough. And then you can just go in here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and then I'll just position it right in the middle. A little bit easier that way. Then we'll just run a difference Boolean there and a difference Boolean here as well. And in this case, my cutters collection is the second one. So you can press Shift 2 on the keyboard to hide that collection without having to go up here and do that manually. So now we basically have this shape right here. So far, so good. All right, so at this point, what I want to do is I want to cut a hole here in the middle and kind of make this shape a bit more interesting. So I'm going to go to Box Cutter. Let me just turn that on. And then I can just go here to the D key. I'm going to go to N-gon Cutter. Now, by default, the N-gon Cutter will just cut normally. What I want to do here is I actually want to, you know what? I think this is fun. I'll show you what I'm going to do in a second. First, let's go in here. Let's cut across to this point. Hold Control to kind of follow the angle of that edge to cut down to that point, and then cut down to this point. And then, honestly, this is fine. We can fix that in a minute. Then if you press Q and go to ever scroll, you can actually go up here and just move that cutter manually. So you kind of have like that result. Another thing I might do is just kind of move that. So we have this type of shape going on, as you can see. And then what I want to do is I want to do something called cutting the cutter. So imagine if, notice this is like an entire Boolean right here. If we remove part of that Boolean, it will in turn reveal a piece of this shape. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go to the Ngon cutter, and this time I'm going to turn on the cyclic feature. Now when I turn on cyclic, basically what happens is it solidifies the cutter. So I can press the T key to enable a cut like that. And then if I double click, notice it cuts through the Boolean. So it removes this part of the Boolean, and in turn, it's going to reveal part of the mesh. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Now what I actually want to do here is I want to cut a Boolean right there. And I know this looks weird, but we're going to fix that too. And then I want to go over here and cut a similar thing. You can also hold Control right to this area. Now, if you just kind of like look at this looks really weird. The shape's inconsistent. So I'm going to show you another cool trick here. I'm going to go ahead and add in a cylinder just in that same spot's fine. We're going to rotate this. Now, if I scale this up right beyond this point right here, as you can see, what I can actually do is once again cut the cutter, and it's going to reveal a circular shape, okay? So I can shift click on the main cutter here, run a difference Boolean, and look what that's done. It's basically cut the cutter and given this type of shape right here. So now it's a lot more clean, a lot more consistent, kind of following the flow a bit more naturally. And then I could actually go in here and duplicate that and, you know, scale that down. Again, if you wanted this to be like perfectly centered, you could go in here, find that Shift S cursor to selected, and then you could literally just take, where is that cutter? I don't think it's there anymore, but you could literally just take a cylinder, rotate this 90 degrees, and then if you want it to be right where the cursor is, Shift S, selection to cursor. So anyways, I'm just going to scale that down a bit, and then again, we're going to go ahead and run a difference Boolean on this cutter, so we're effectively cutting the cutter to create this shape right here. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. By the way, guys, if any of this is confusing at all, whether it's the modeling process or the design process or my workflow or the way I'm thinking, if you need any sort of help with hard surface modeling, this is something we're very, very good at. We've been doing this for years, and if you've seen our videos, you know exactly how we work. Now, if you want to work with us more privately and learn from us directly, whether that's through coaching, consulting, training programs for Blender, we can really accelerate your workflow a lot faster than watching these tutorials. So if you want to learn more about that and kind of discuss some of the problems that you might be encountering here in Blender, book a call with us below this video. We'll have a chat. It's usually about 30 minutes. It's completely free. And if we're able to help you, we'll show you exactly how that looks. So anyways, let's get back to the video. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I think we can just go and apply this Boolean. As a matter of fact, we can apply all of them. I'm happy with this. So you can apply these manually one by one, or you can go into hard ops, you press Q. And what the hell is going on over here? Let me check. I think this cylinder just needs to be moved a little bit more right to there. You can kind of see what's going on. So just scale that. And then anyways, we're going to press Q. We're going to go to operations. Then we're going to go here to smart apply. Basically what smart apply does is it applies all the modifiers and mirrors, stuff like that. So now we're going to have this shape right here, but we're going to have access to the actual geometry, okay? So notice we kind of have, you know, these weird connection points. These kind of bother me. If you want to have better connection points, what you can actually do is go to the knife feature and literally just go to box cutter, the actual box, and then just cut straight through. You can change this back to the difference option. I don't really set that to knife by default. Now you're going to have a cut straight through the middle, and then you can just go in here and Control X to dissolve out this junk if you want to do that. So I could literally just go in here and dissolve that out. This area still has to have a connection point, so we could just connect that as well, and then just connect that as well. The reason I'm doing that is because I just like cleaner, more consistent connection points on my geometry, just like that. And now we can kind of continue with minimal issues. So I'm gonna go ahead, dissolve these two out and dissolve these two out. And we're just gonna bevel. And then we're gonna go here, dissolve these two out with Control X, and then dissolve these two out with Control X. Apply a bevel there as well. Now by default, we kind of have these weird sharp markings. An easy way to remove those is to go into object mode, and in hard ops, press Q, Control Shift click on sharpen. That will recalculate those sharps and it should remove those by default. So that looks good. And then we're just gonna go in, gonna kind of bevel that, and you can see like how much cleaner this actual shape looks now. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do something similar on the bottom here. I'm just gonna cut. Let me change this back to the face mode so we're not in cyclic, so it's not solidified. And then I'm just gonna cut something over here. I don't know how good this will look. This is just an idea. Gonna go in, and you know, if you're modeling, you might already have a reference photo, in which case shouldn't really be a big deal. So that looks pretty good, I think. I might slightly move that. And then I'm just gonna go here to this edge, gonna bevel that. Gonna go here to this edge, bevel that, and then we can go in here and you know what, instead of beveling this area, which might look a bit strange, it's not too bad, but what we could do is the same trick I showed you before. Let me just go in here to this selection and then Shift S, cursor to selected. Let's add in a cylinder and rotate that 90 degrees and then just kind of scale that up, and then shift click here, and then we can do something like that. So now we kind of have a little bit of a circular rotation just because I think it, you know, looks better. And we'll go ahead and just apply that Boolean. You can use a smart apply, doesn't really matter. And I can just go in here, add in a bevel, and these are like small issues you might not notice, but we have two edges right here. So let me just Control X to dissolve that one out, and then just do something like that. So now just a little bit more even, consistent, looks pretty good. All right, so I'm definitely liking the look of this. Now make sure you save your scene. I haven't done that, so I'm just gonna go here and save my scene in case Blender crashes. All right, so now what I wanna do is I wanna add in a cube, and let me reset the cursor, Shift S cursor to world origin. Now the reason I'm not gonna use box cutter here is because I'm kind of eyeballing this if I cut. This is a little bit longer than this one, and it's not perfectly in the center. So if I add in a cube here, it's gonna be perfectly centered. So it's just easier to use a Boolean that way. I get questions like this all the time, like why did you do that over using like box cutter? It doesn't matter. I just try to think like ahead, like what's the quickest way to save keystrokes? And the more you're working in Blender, the more you're learning, the quicker this becomes muscle memory. It's very much down to practice. This is something we can help you with, like to really expedite the process. But again, it just boils down to practice really. So we're gonna go in here, we're going to run a difference Boolean, and I'm just gonna move this to about here, more or less. Control A to apply the scale, and then I'm just gonna bevel this area. And I think that looks pretty good. And then if you have some weird shading, you can shift click on sharpen to kind of fix that up. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead and notice the shading errors. If you want to kind of fix those, you can always just go in, add some isolation loops. That'll fix the problem pretty quickly. Same in here. If you want to do that, you could just go in, add some isolation loops or whatever. It doesn't matter that much. I'll just leave it alone for now. So now I'm going to go ahead and Shift A to add another cube, and we're going to scale this one as well, like that. Scale it on the Z, and then run a Boolean over here. And I'm not too sure where I want to place that one, if I want to place it at all. Again, if you have a reference photo, you won't really have to worry about this stuff, but just kind of showing you the main modeling strategy, right? So I think something like this could be good, but I don't want it to interfere with that area. So what I might actually do is something like that. And then what I could even do is I could like bevel this and just kind of, you know, remove part of where that's going to be placed. Kind of get the idea. So I could do something like that. And then what I could do is just Control A to apply the scale. I can add in a bevel right here. And then maybe add in a bevel over here. So it's more of like a shape kind of like that. Then again, shift click to sharpen if you need to do that. And this should be your shape so far. And again, you can always just kind of move these cutters around if you want to play with it, but you kind of get the idea here. All right, so the last thing I kind of like to do is I always like to go in and fix up any major shading problems, any weird issues, add some chamfers, bevels, stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and smart apply everything. And I'm just going to go in and add in a bevel here, like that. And then I'm going to add in a bevel here, or a chamfer rather, if you want to be specific about it. And we'll go in here, do the same thing. And also another trick I like is if you turn off overlays, you can see visually which, option, which bevel looks better. In my case, I kind of like that. And then we can just go in, you can always just symmetrize or mirror everything. And over here, this all looks good, but we do have a little bit of, some minor shading problems. Not really a huge issue, but if you want, you can actually go in and go to Boolean cleanup if you have Mesh Machine installed. Not sure how well that'll work in this case, but you can, give it a try, and that should clean up a lot of the shading problems. It will kind of condense down to here a little bit because of what just happened. So it just kind of depends, how much do you want to fix that problem. You can go in and even do this manually as well if it bothers you, right? So you kind of get the idea. Shading errors are normal if you're using a Boolean workflow, so don't, freak out too much. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do a quick preview render. If you don't need to do rendering, obviously you don't need to render, but the way I do this is with our plugin Materialworks, and this isn't like some promo here. This is just the tool I use personally. We built it for ourselves. It is available for sale, but I use it regardless of whether I'm selling it or not. It's just genuinely a good tool. So we can go in here, turn on HDRI just to kind of have some more natural lighting. By the way, the HDRIs in this plugin are from a professional designer, Alex Senechal. So these are realistic, like top quality studio HDRIs. So if you need rendering and realistic lighting, these are the best in the game right now. Any of these 6 will do pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a material. These are all custom hard surface materials. We don't have random stuff. It's specifically for hard surface models. So you can kind of go in here and just figure out like which one fits you. And then I can go here and turn on the bevel. So we have a nice little bevel outline right there as well. I can also make this floor a little bit brighter and maybe just scale that up. Maybe just do something like that. That's called an infinite backdrop if you want to add one. You kind of get the idea. And then you can just do a very, simple basic render. Maybe it's a bit too bright. Do something like that. And if you want to get fancy, Materialworks also has a wear and tear feature. By the way, guys, if you do plan to work with us at any point, we do include this tool. If you do end up signing up with us, you can check it out in the description. There's a link to book a call. So we basically just give our clients access to everything we've ever made, but you do need to book a call for that. So if you need help with Blender, just have a chat with us. It's free and we'll see if we can help you. But what I think I'll do here is change the wear and tear a little bit. So we'll go in. I'm going to change this to, you could do all sorts of stuff, scratches, dents, smudge, stuff like that. All right, so if I go in there, you can kind of see I've added in some scratches, and you can kind of make the effect like very, very heavy, which I wouldn't recommend. You can make it a little bit more reasonable, kind of do stuff like that. You can even add in like extra layers. If you go to like rust, for example, you could add in rust. And that is how I would basically set up a render if you need a render. And then obviously you can like add in a camera, change the focal length to whatever you need, and just kind of move the camera back, and then you can just like position it. Again, this is if you need to render this. Maybe you have a portfolio, maybe you have a company, you have to show off your work, like whatever the case is, this is how I would do that. And then you can just go here to render region. Then you can just kind of do some basic stuff like play with the lighting, play with the background, play with the shape, play with the rotation. You kind of get the idea there. But yeah, that's basically how I would set up a render. So that's it for today's tutorial, guys. And again, if you struggle with any of this stuff, whether it's the modeling, the workflows, maybe you're running into problems when you're modeling and you don't have any sort of help, let us help you. This is what we're good at. We spent tens of thousands of hours in Blender. This is our area of expertise, and we can help you get good at this very, very quickly. So go ahead, book a call with us in the link in the top of the description if you need any sort of help. It's a free call. We'll kind of break down where you're struggling, what you need help with, and if we're actually able to help you, we'll discuss exactly what your options are, pricing, that type of thing. So again, book a call with us in the link in the top of the description if you need any sort of help, and I'll see you in the next video.